Here at Misano, race 2 for Clio Cup Series is about to get underway. And the atmosphere is a little different from what it was, say, an hour and a half ago, because local hero Valentino Rossi has just scored a win in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup race. And there's a sea of yellow pretty much everywhere you look. Delighted Rossi fans. They're still cheering, they're still applauding, and if they look at the track, they're going to be well entertained too, because the Clios come to the grid. Luca Franca is the man on pole position. He finished second in yesterday's race, and he started that from pole, but let's see whether he can convert it into a race win today. Yesterday's race was won by the very experienced David Pouget, who is here to score both Italian and European Championship points. He qualified third yesterday. He's third on the grid again today, but he drove so well yesterday, was able to build a gap and break clear of the opposition early on in the race. So the drivers ready to be strapped into rather hot cars, with the teams trying to take some of the heat away. That's the man that's second on the grid, Giacomo Trebi, another very, very rapid Clio racer. And if they can stop Pouget getting away, make a break, then they're all in with a chance, I think, in the course of this race. But David Pouget has been racing Renaults for so long, he knows exactly how to win these races, which will last 25 minutes plus 1 lap. So everybody knows when it's the last lap, because there is that regulation lap tagged on at the end. So the grid, based on today's earlier qualifying session rather than a race result, for example, and the grid assembling. Countdown continues. They'll get a formation lap, and then we will be in business for this final race of the weekend, for a championship that has raced already at Nogaro, at Monza, at Manicourt, at Spa, and the Hungaroring. And this, the 12th race of the season. Some of the drivers here registered for European points as well as French, some for European and Italian, some for just Italian. There is David Pouget, yesterday's race winner. He won by 4.6 seconds. That was quite a margin in Renault terms. We shall see whether or not he's going to be able to do the double, which in itself is very, very difficult. A double has been done this year by Gabriele Torelli at Monza and at Manicourt by David Pouget himself. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that it might happen, but it ain't going to be easy. There is Jacopo Jimenez in the Essa Corsa car. Lines up 4th on the grid, and stretching all the way back to the rear of the grid. You can see number 27 there. That is the car of Federico Danova, another of the Essa Corsa cars, and that lines up with number 165, Rolando Borracini, for company on that back row of the grid. On the podium, there are still more celebrations going on. But 84 is the car of Matteo Lancialotti, which went well yesterday, led for a time, but then had a couple of big slides, lost places, and was never really able to fight back against David Pouget. So let's see whether, having been out-qualified, there's a chance here for Matteo Lancialotti to come good. 5th on the grid today, and you know that he's a quick driver. So we've had a real variety of winners in the Italian Championship, real spread of victors there. And there's another of the quick cars that lines up next on the grid. 6th is where you find Francesco Pagano, and he is in one of the Costa Ovest entries. So the drivers good to go. 25 minutes plus a lap is the duration for this second race of the weekend. And the beauty of having, of course, a separate qualifying session is that it gives people that had problems yesterday a chance to have a good grid position once again. There is the car of Cristian Ricciarini, 107. That is 7th on the grid. And Cristian Ricciarini is another experienced Renault racer, indeed twice a champion in Clio Cup Italy back in 2009 and 2016. So there's an Italian and a French and a Spanish championship, as well as the Central Europe contest and the European, that all make up Clio Cup Series. And the way the championship works is that you don't need to do every event to score points for the European, because obviously there are costs involved for people from southern Italy heading to France and vice versa, or the Spaniards making lots of journeys. So you can do a selected number of events, but still have a competitive chance within the championship. So the countdown continues, the grid now being cleared of all extraneous personnel, ready for the start of the race. And if anything to go on previous form is a guide here, it's going to be a lively race. The Clio's able to run together in a pack. They can slipstream on a circuit like this. It's nice and wide for them, so they can get themselves together. And yesterday, the start of the race was probably more frantic than it became, but David Pouget had to work hard to get himself into the lead. Once he was in the lead, then life became a little bit more straightforward, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be the same here, especially now that the Italian drivers are aware of his ability. They know how he drives, and they know how to stop him, or at least they hope they do, going into this second race of the weekend. There's one shared car, and for today, it is going to be driven by Luciano Gioia. So having missed yesterday's race when Rocco Romeo was at the wheel, it is the turn of Luciano Gioia to drive today. '27, I've mentioned at the very back there, Federico Danova, former kart racer. And like other Clio championships, you have both a Challengers Cup for the young guns and the renamed Racers category for the older generation of driver. And it gives everybody a chance to try and score points, whether it's in the overall standings or in a class. And the driver leading the racer standings with 1 minute to go coming into the weekend was the poleman, Luca Franca. The leading driver in the Challengers standings, Matteo Lanciolotti, and Alessandro Brigatti, the outright championship leader coming into the weekend. Well, Brigatti didn't qualify so well yesterday, nor today, in fact. Only 9th on the grid is Alessandro Brigatti. He didn't make great progress yesterday, so we'll wait and see how he fares, but it might be that this is another tough call, tough race for him around the Misano circuit. So very shortly, the cars will be released onto the warming up lap, warming up for the tyres rather than the drivers. They're probably warming up, having been sitting on the grid for a few minutes. And when the cars are released, then the Michelin rubber will be exercised, and the green flag wave, the race director Pierre Delettre gives the indication that the cars now can go, and so down towards turn 1 goes Luca Franca. Yesterday they got 14 laps in, unaffected by safety cars. Largely the driving in this championship is very good and very clean, so let's hope that it's going to be the same again over the next 25 minutes plus a lap, 14 in all being well. So it is Luca Franca and Giacomo Trebi on the front row from David Pouget and Jacopo Cimenez on row 2. Matteo Lanciolotti and Francesco Pagano are on the third row. Then it's Cristian Ricciardini and Jerzy Spinkovics on the fourth row. 9th on the grid, Alessandro Brigatti. Alex Lanciolotti is alongside him. And then you've got Leonardo Arduini and Francesco Savoia. That's the 6th row of the grid. The 7th row is where we find Adam Sasha and Alessandro Alcidi ahead of Alessio Alcidi and Ludovico Longoni. Row 9 is comprised of Due and of Francesco Miotto ahead of Luciano Gioia and Andrea Cieceretti. Sandro Cutini will be next. 22nd on the grid is Gianalberto Coldani. Daniele Pasquani is lineup 23rd, and Manuel Stefani alongside him ahead of the car of Mario Capella, and Ecoli Cipolla is alongside him, and then the back row, Rolando Borracini and Federico Danova round out the 28-strong grid, ready for the second race of the weekend in Clio Cup Series. So the cars there, you can see, just turning their way up through turns 9 and 10. Wins this year to the absent Nicolas Milon at Nogaro, and Mathieu Lannoy-Poudon won the second race there. Again, the French drivers coming out in force because they could score French championship points that weekend as well. At Monza, it was all about Gabriele Torelli, who's absent this weekend, the Italian driver. At Manicourt, David Pouget won both. At Spa, it was Gabriele Torelli and Anthony Gerardo, the reigning champion, in the European Championship, that is. In Hungary, it was Gerardo and Torelli, so they split the wins, but in the reverse order. And then we moved to Misano, where David Pouget won the opening race of the weekend. So the field here working its way down to the completion of the lap. Up to the grid they will come. And once they've slotted into place, then we should be good to go for what's going to be, no doubt, a lively race. So everybody now comes into place. The task wheel as they accelerate up towards their grid ranking. Manuel Stefani comes into view, Eccoli Cipolla comes into view, and then on a very, very hot day with the track temperature now at 42.9 degrees, the ambient 32.6 degrees. Drivers get set for what's still going to be quite a long race, 25 minutes plus a lap. Best part of 27 minutes as the lights go red and the lights go out, and it is blast off, and a good start by Luca Franca then. He gets the drop on the pack going down towards turn one. Behind him, Giacomo Trebi tries to fend off David Pouget in the white car on the outside line, and Pouget goes third as they drop into turn one then for the first time. So a good start by Franca, and he needs to try to build that lead on cold tyres whilst Pouget is working his way past Trebi. The field then wriggling its way out of turns 1 and 2 and 3 for the first time, and Pouget looks to the inside line and then thinks better of it as Giacomo Trebi sticks out his elbows and makes sure there's no way through there. 3 abreast almost coming up towards turn 4, and the pack scrabbles through on this opening lap. Nose to tail further back in the queue, and others run wide up over the curb. Franca leading the way, Trebi under attack from Pouget, and then in 4th place it looks like Matteo Lancialotti has got himself ahead of Jacopo Cimenez, and a bit of contact there. Tyre smoke rubs, and there's another little bit of nudging maybe under braking, 1 or 2 with pointy elbows. Jesse Spinkovic in the middle of that with the white and black and orange car, the unique racing entry, trying to forge a way through if he can. But the leaders are edging away just a little bit as they come towards us then. It's the leading quartet with Matteo Lancialotti up into 4th at the expense of Jacopo Cimenez. Out of turn 10, down they come on this fast back straight. Perfect place to get a tow, and if you get the speed, then dive to the inside, because these cars, relatively small hot hatches, therefore relatively narrow for a nice wide circuit like this part of Misano. Down they come through the kink at Curvoni, turn 11. On the outside line there, Adam Sasha trying to go around the outside of 30, Alex Lancialotti. And the race leaders, and there are 3 of them pretty much as one now with the gaps coming down. Franca, Trebi, Pouget turn their way around the turn 14 hairpin. Short straight to 15, short straight to the end of the lap. Franca it is in the lead. Second is Giacomo Trebi. David Pouget sits tight in 3rd spot. Come past the pits now, and Luca Franca it is with a 0.4 of a second margin as they come past the pits. So Franca, Trebi, Pouget, Matteo Lancialotti trying to play catch-up in that 4th place. He's fallen off the back just ever so slightly, but he is on a mission and he is trying to catch back up again as the rest of the field comes streaming through. Curb hopping going on, inevitably got some task wheel going on as well. So Franca it is leading the way. David Pouget comes out of the draft to Giacomo Trebi to try to make another move for 2nd spot. Couldn't do it there, and slots back in behind. And interestingly, although Franca is the leader, he's not getting away. So further back in the pack, in fact, Cristian Ricciarini is one of the people in a bit of a hurry, because he now is doing purple sectors. It's still 3 for the lead as they come up towards turn 9. In the black car looking 4th place, Matteo Lancialotti. And now 5th is 107. There it is, the red car. Cristian Ricciarini up 1 spot and lapping quickly. So Ricciarini becoming more of a factor as this race wears on. The 3 leaders come down again towards turn 11, down to Curvoni. And as they turn their way through that kink, David Pouget looks to the inside line, but there's not really going to be a chance to go through on Trebi there, because Giacomo is busy defending as well as thinking about how he might be able to have a go at Franca, who locks up, and Pouget dives at the inside for second place, and through he goes. So David Pouget goes sailing through on the inside. So the former Peugeot champion takes up the places. He's been oh so close to winning the French and oh so close to winning European titles in the past. Could this be his season? He's here for Italian and Clio Cup Series overall points, and he comes across the line now. In the background, look, Ricciardini is on the attack on the inside, but Matteo Lanciolotti fends him off. So Luca Franca leading by 0.6 of a second from David Pouget. Christian Ricciardini is now the fastest man on the circuit. He's done the best lap of the race. And as the cars come out of turn 2 here, Luca Franca trying to edge away, but now it's going to get tough. Pouget right with him. He needs to try and clear Trebi. Giacomo Trebi is fighting back. What's going on for fourth? Whoops, dramas there, look. Rejoining, somewhat delayed, is Francesco Miotto's car, as Franca comes onto that back straight, down towards Queccia. To the inside line now goes Pouget, partly to try to fend off Giacomo Trebi, and Ricciardini up into fourth place, keeping Matteo Lanciolotti at bay. He's going after the leading group, and the pace that he's got, bearing in mind he's done the fastest lap, does suggest he might get up with Trebi before much longer. If those three keep squabbling, then it's going to play into his hands, of course. Up now they come towards the right-hander at turn 9. Giacomo Trebi in the white car with the blue piping on it. You've got David Pouget in second spot, going after Luca Franca, and Pouget has now done an absolute best first sector. So it's game on here. He's got the car as he wants it. He's got the tyres up to temperature, and David Pouget now starts the attack against Luca Franca. He's gaining places, of course, in previous laps around this part of the circuit, and in yesterday's race. It's his favoured part of the circuit. It's up through Curvoni all the way around to the Caro hairpin, and he's probably going to try it again as you look further back. Ricciardini from Matteo Lanciolotti from Jacopo Jimenez, so two trios arguing, one for the lead and one for fourth. It's still Luca Franca in the lead, but he goes wide, and Pouget thinks about a send up the inside and then thinks better of it. Doesn't want to go clattering through and risk a penalty. He'll make a move when he's confident, when the space is there, and ideally he'll try and force an error out of Franca. Over the line they come then. That now completes the third lap of the race as they drop down towards turn 1. 3 for the lead. Now those are lapping in the 1:55s, and so is Ricciardini in fourth place. So he's able to run at a comparable pace. So it could be that we see Ricciardini up with the 3 leaders before too much more of the race has been completed. Franca then out of turns 4 and 5. Pouget right up behind him, and then it is Giacomo Trebi in third spot, looking to make his move as well now. Pouget goes one side, Franca defends. Pouget goes to the other, Franca will defend. And Trebi is coming back at David Pouget here. Wants to try to get a toe if he can, and he's caught right up as they break for Queccia. Then into turn 8. Alex Lanciolotti, who is down in 10th place, has just done an absolute best first sector, so he's another one getting a good toe, and he's another one pushing on as the 3 leaders, all white cars largely, head up towards turn 10. So it remains Franca ahead of Pouget, and Giacomo Trebi looking for the tighter line out of the corner to then slingshot up the inside of Pouget. Can't do it, so it remains Luca Franca, the race leader, and he goes very defensive indeed on Pouget. Luca Franca, regular in the Italian and in the French Championship, so he and Pouget have raced against each other before, but there's pride at stake, national pride here. Pouget won for France yesterday, Franca for Italy on the inside line, trying to fend him off. Giacomo Trebi there or thereabouts in third place, and Pouget is all crossed up and all sideways. Trebi not close enough to take advantage of that, but it means that Franca hangs on to the lead, or does he, because he goes a little bit deeper through turn 14. To the outside line now, Pouget, and slots back in, looking for the undercut for turn 16. Here they come. David Pouget thinks about it, thinks better of it. He's the only driver really upholding French honour in this. Many of his compatriots deciding this is a round they can skip, but as David was here anyway with his GPA racing team running a car in the GT4 championship races, might as well put the Renault in the truck and go points scoring. Thus far, it's been a successful weekend with that win yesterday. So Luca Franca leads, but he's under massive, massive pressure. Look, Pouget crawling all over the back of him. And Giacomo Trebi in third place as now Pouget thinks about the inside line. Franca moves across, covers the line, and it's 4 for the lead now. Ricciardini right on the back of Trebi. The next two trying to catch up are Matteo Lanciolotti, and then Jacopo Jimenez as out wide goes Franca. This is lap 5 out of a projected 14. David Pouget goes to the outside. Now this is the part of the circuit where ideally a driver wants to try to get a toe, close up at the end of that back straight. You can see Ricciarini fourth, and a change for fifth is there. No, Lancialotti maintains his fifth place despite the best efforts of Jimenez, and then the Polish driver Jerzy Spinkovic is in seventh, and he's edging a little bit closer as well. So that leading line starting to grow, starting to get longer. Ricciarini and Lancialotti, fourth and fifth, could do with working together. And now, look, coming out of turn 10, Ricciarini is much, much closer to Giacomo Trebi ahead of him. Pouget again thinks about an inside line, then to the outside, heading into Curvoni. Luca Franca remains the leader. Trebi comes back at Pouget. So Giacomo Trebi running in third place with the blue paint on the roof of the car. Oh dear, a rather badly damaged. Is that Adam Sasha car? Front damage, he's limping on, got the headlights on to warn everybody that there's a big, big problem. And also in strife, Daniele Pasquale. But Sasha then was 14th. It looks like he's out of the race as the leader. Now is David Pouget coming out of the hairpin. He's done it. He's got himself ahead of Luca Franca. And Franca desperately needs to try to fight back before Pouget starts building this lead. This is exactly what he did yesterday. Was content to play early on, then make a push and keep pushing. Way, way out wide there goes in 118 Francesco Pagano. It back on the racetrack, more or less, but that was a wild old ride. Pouget up the curve from in second, Franca third, Trebi fourth, Ricciarini. And Luca Franca tries to stay in touch with the race leader as they work their way now up towards the turn 4-5 sequence through the second Rio, as it's called. Christian Ricciarini in that fourth place. And Luca Franca is certainly not letting Pouget go. Jinx one side, jinx the other. Pouget trying to defend, trying to break any slipstream effect that he might be giving to Franca. And Luca has a little look on the inside line, but to no avail. Can't find a way past David Pouget there. Together they run, absolutely nose to tail. Now through that right-hander of turn 9. Get back on the power. And it's pretty much 4 in that leading line. And you can see that Pouget is still under attack because he has to go really defensive coming out of that corner. Moves to the inside of the road, trying to break the toe, break the slipstream effect. Giacomo Trebi in that third place, also still very much part of the fight. And Christian Ricciarini is there as well, having done the fastest lap earlier on. Fifth, they're just dropping away slightly, Matteo Lancialotti. The clock has 13 3/4 minutes on it, plus that regulation lap at the end. So we're nudging towards half distance. Still 3 for the lead. Pouget not escaping. Jimenez goes wide, and that enables Lancialotti to fight back. Jimenez was ahead of him. Lancialotti is back through on the inside, but then he runs wide. Spinkovic is up with them as well, and back on the inside goes Jimenez, so he is now 5th. And out wide goes Lancialotti. Spinkovic in the orange 7th place car is right with him as well. So David Pouget, race leader, comes towards us. And this is how he did it a lap ago, as Luca Franca just braked a fraction too late, ran ever so slightly wide, and Pouget was through. Even if Franca had tried to stand his ground on the inside line, it was all too late. Pouget was through. Leonardo Arduini on 2 wheels and then bouncing over the curbs. And there, I think it was 118, wasn't it, that was the ultimate offender. Way out wide, bouncing towards the dirt. That's Francesco Pagano, and that, I suspect, just slightly exceeds track limits. Gives him a wild ride as he gets back onto the circuit, and as a consequence of all that, Pagano is in 10th place. Big move by Jerzy Spinkovic up the inside there, goes through, goes 6th on Matteo Lancialotti. So 2 places lost in about a lap and a half there for Lancialotti. One of them having been lost to the hard-charging Jacopo Jimenez, and now to Jerzy Spinkovic. So the leaders work lap number 7, and more of the fighting going on. Don't forget, we've got the contests not just overall, but also in the racers and the challengers competitions. Jour, the pseudonym driver in 53, up on the inside line there of Francesco Savoia, so he gains a spot out of all of that. Jour is another driver that's been around for many, many years in Renault Racing, the Oregon team, running that car. That's a team that's been around forever now, busy not only in Renaults, but also Lamborghini and GT Multimark Racing. Pouget locking up that time, Franca closing on him. Down towards turn 15 comes David Pouget, the race leader. And in fairness to Luca Franca, he is offering greater resistance today than yesterday. He may have lost the lead, granted, but he's not letting Pouget escape. Franco is trying to stay with him. The winning margin yesterday over 4 seconds, and you can see it's still a proper battle in the way that Pouget is defending. He's going from one side of the road to the other. Here they come then down towards the braking zone. And in third place, Giacomo Trebi just dropping away slightly, but Franca looking as though he might even be close enough on this 8th lap to mount another challenge against Pouget. David Pouget goes a little bit wide coming out of turn 3. Were that the last lap, maybe Franca would have had a proper dive up the inside, but not quite yet. Out of 5. Flick left onto the back straight. Franco trying to measure what he's doing against Pouget in the lead. There is Cristiano Ricciarini then up into that 4th place, and now starting to be more of a threat to Giacomo Trebi for 3rd place. Ricciarini, double Clio Cup Italy champion. He's raced in the new shape minis, he's raced in touring cars, and using all of that experience to good use. Giacomo Trebi, the man ahead of him, another Clio Italia regular, and Jour further back, now trying to keep Luciano Gioia at bay. Also in the midst of that, you can see he's 1-2-2, Ludovico Longoni, and through on the inside line, the mirror hangs off Jour's car. Gioia goes by, and then runs out wide, and the place continues to trade. So Jour gets himself back up into 13th spot. So this is a proper Clio battle, this. Lots of them, lots of place trading. Gioia has lost 2 spots out of all of that, in fact. There is also in the mix now Andrea Chiricietti in the MC Motorsports car as the field pours its way once more down towards Curvoni. 10 minutes on the clock as Pouget led over the line last time by 0.4 of a second from Luca Franca. 1 or 2 more being very brave on the curbs. We're now getting more driving standards flags for track limit abuses as Jour runs out wide there. A little bit of contact behind him as at the inside of Chiricietti goes Gioia to retake his 15th place, having been elbowed back in the queue a little bit earlier. Pouget then has just done the fastest lap of the race. He leads by nearly 0.7 of a second now. Now, normally you'd say in Clio terms that's a big gap, but he won by over 4 seconds yesterday. That's a gap. Coming out then of turn 16, this battle for really the second half of the field. 14th and back, pretty much everybody else that's still running goes through. There is David Pouget, race leader. He's on lap 9 here out of an anticipated 14. So the GPA Racing player manager is his squad, and normally when you see Clio Cup Series, particularly on French soil, there are hordes of them in the GPA awning. Same for Nicolas Milan, who has his own Clio team as well. But this weekend, although there's a GT4 car to look after, all the attention is on Le Patron's Clio. It shows, doesn't it? Pouget clearing the lead. Others explore track limits and explore most of Italy in the process as well, coming out of turn 6. But they survive and they battle on, including in all of that the battle between Luciano Gioia and also working his way up into contention, number 19, Gian Alberto Coldani, and way off the road there, heading for the barriers. Was that Gioia? Well, he's cleared the gravel. He might even be able to rejoin from there. He's bounced off some of it. We've had people driving out of gravel beds over the course of the day, and so there, trying to rejoin, I think it is Luciano Gioia's car. It was elbowed offline. Yep, he's driven straight through the gravel. They're meant to really ensnare cars, but they're, of course, gravel beds also designed for motorbike racing, which is very common at Misano, so they can't be that deep, so that they're going to really hurt motorbike racers, and it means that people that have spun off, yes, the car is slow, but then they are largely able to drive out again, and it's a rather thankful Luciano Gioia who is doing just that at the moment. As number 19 there, still fighting on. Gian Alberto Coldani gets into the battle. Up towards Caro they come through the hairpin. More elbows out racing there as you see the cars head down towards turn 15. Sandro Coutinho, I think one of the drivers involved in that fight. Number 73, 38 is on his tail, which is Alessio Argidi in the Tudor Motorsport car. Now Pouget, 8/10 up the road. It's kind of gone past the tipping point now, hasn't it? He's breaking away, and Luca Franca looking as though he's going to be unable, unless Pouget makes an error, to bring down that gap. Bit of contact there, and that turns very sideways Alcidi. So as they came down towards the corner, it was Francesco Danova, who was looking for a way through and ends up losing ground himself there as the cars power their way on towards turns 4 and 5. So Danova goes through on the inside. Another place gained there. Look, 17 is Daniele Pasquali, and Manuel Stefani falling back a little bit. now that he's clear of the traffic, as it were. David Pouget has done an absolute best first sector. So the intention now is very clear. Build that gap and keep on building. Now this is the replay of Luciano Gioia going off, and looked as though either he didn't have any brakes or missed his braking point, because he arrived very quickly, had to jink out from the traffic, cleared the gravel, bounced into the tyres, hooks a gear, sets off again. There's David Pouget, race leader. Gioia is in the pits. Does make me think it was a brake problem that caused all of that. So Pouget from Franca from Trebi, way up onto two wheels that time. Giacomo Trebi in third place, and he's also cleared Cristiano Ricciarini now. He's got away from Ricciarini, as down towards us here comes then Pouget, still the race leader. Driving standards flag being waved to 27, which means Federico Danova is being looked at. So Pouget leads, and it's over a second now. Sideways Trebi turns into turn one, but David Pouget now far enough ahead, I think, for this not to be a major worry for him, because he's going to be able to continue to build that gap over Luca Franca. Giacomo Trebi, it is in third place. Cristiano Ricciarini fourth, Giacomo Jimenez fifth, Jezsi Spinkovic sixth, Matteo Lancialotti seventh, and the man that led the championship, the Italian championship coming into the weekend, Alessandro Brigatti, only eighth, not making progress. The battered car of Jour there, still 14th, with, behind him, 122 of Ludovico Longoni. So Jour with the Oregon colours piped across the left-hand side of the top of the car, comes up towards turn 6 and goes through, still being chased by Longoni. Pouget clear in the race lead then, ahead of Franca, and then Trevi in third place. 4.5 minutes, plus a lap still to run here. And Jour, using all of his experience to good effect, being able to hang on to that place, as you can see, as he comes now down through turn 8. So the race leader, David Pouget, on lap number 11. This, all of a sudden, is the fight for second place. Luca Franca being given a very, very hard time indeed by Giacomo Trebi, and that's only going to help Pouget, isn't it, as well, as the tyre-smoking Franca has to go defensive to fend off the challenge of Trebi. Through they turn. Again now towards turn 15, and with speed building to the inside line, fainted Trebi, but Luca Franca not being dummied by that. He does run a bit wider though, and over the curbs, and of course all of these track limit violations being monitored, and a time penalty of 5 seconds is going to be given to Federico Danova for track limit offences, so they do need to be careful. It's all fine being committed and energetic in the driving and feisty and all of that, but the more you do it, the more the scale of penalties racks up and increases, and the penalties will come post-race. We've lost from the race after contact Alessio Alcidi. We've lost Gioia after we've seen him bounce into the barriers. We've also now lost Francesco Miotto as well, and Adam Sasha with damage. We've seen that very early on. Pouget the leader by 1.5 seconds now as Jour rides the curves, hanging on to 14th place from Longoni, and then Cerchietti behind him. 3 minutes on the clock, so probably 2 more laps, and then the regulation laps. It's going to nudge the 14 that we got yesterday. So there is the second place car. Luca Franca keeping Giacomo Trebi behind him. Luca Franca powering his way now then onto this fast straight up towards Cavoni. The kink, the speed building, of course, all the time on this part of the circuit. Drivers getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Battles there going into turn 8, so that's the midfield fight where you had Jour and Longoni and Cerchietti. Jour has fallen to the back of that, hasn't he? So now to the head of the queue, by the look of it, is Longoni. So Jour has had a moment somewhere. Cerchietti has gone past him as well. So what's that? Back 4 spots in the queue is Jour on this lap. Luca Franca then, who has had 1 win in the Italian Championship pre-weekend, was the best of the Italian point scorers yesterday, running in second spot. And there on the outside line, trying to preserve position as the cars now run towards the turn 13-14. Right is the car of Gianalberto Coldani. Race leaders have gone by, 1.6 seconds now is the leading margin. So there is this lap and one more for the leaders. They just started their penultimate lap, because this will bring them to the end of the time, and then there's the regulation lap, if you like, to be put on at the end. Cordani goes through number 19. Behind him there is then Cericietti, and Jour, as I said, on the course of the lap, is the one that's been bumped back in the queue. Matteo Lacciolotti, incidentally, 7th in the race, came here 2nd within the Italian Championship at the start of the weekend. So he's also chunking points in this race, which is bad news. An incident between Adam Sasha and Francesco Savoia is going to be looked at after the race. So, as is often the case, the way they cross the line isn't necessarily the way it is going to end if the stewards feel there's something that needs correcting in the system after driving standards or incidents, or people gaining an advantage through the wrong means. 107, Cristiano Ricciarini falling away now from Giacomo Trebbi, and makes the run onto the back straight once more. So David Pouget looking very secure in the lead of the race, and he's got one more lap to run at the end of this. Through they turn. That's that long line of cars for the sort of end of midfield and back. 28 started, 24 are still circulating. Bit of a lock-up there, and another lock-up from Luca Franca. Cristiano Ricciarini is being caught by Jacopo Ximenez, the man way up on the curb there. 6th is Spinkovic, who's not really making the progress that you might have anticipated. He's another driver that's had a win within the Italian Championship this season, as also has Alessandro Brigatti and Cristiano Ricciarini. Bit of damage on the back there of Savoia's car, I think that is, as he comes towards us. Brigatti's car that's got the damage at the back, the erstwhile championship leader, who's had a really difficult weekend in neither qualifying nor either race. He made much progress against the people that he's regularly fighting with in the standings. So he goes through with Leonardo Arduini on his tail, and that is David Pouget, 1.6 seconds to the good, and he's on his last lap, as you can see on the graphic. Final lap with 25 minutes has come to an end. And so now David Pouget makes the run onto the back straight, and another victory is going to go his way. This is great news for him within the European point scoring. So that's what he's registered for. And David Pouget comes into the left-hander at turn 8, pushes on, goes wide over the curb, arguably the wrong side of that white line. There are time penalties coming for track limits, and another recipient will be Francesco Pagano. That was the one we saw bouncing almost to row 3 of the grandstand at turn 16 many laps ago. Luca Franca there 2nd. Giacomo Trebbi goes through shot in 3rd place, but it looks like it's going to be a double for Pouget. Here, the French driver dominating on Italian soil as he accelerates now down to the kink. Through Curvoni he comes. And so for David Pouget, he will in a moment set the car up for turns 13 and 14. The ever-tightening sequence of right-handers at the end of the lap. Kink to corner to tighter corner to hairpin, effectively. The grandstand which backs onto the main road, and then you go left out of 15. Checkered flag will await, and David Pouget has proved to be no mug in Clio Cup Series this weekend. He sprints his way out of turn 16. The checker flag awaits him, and David Pouget does the double on Italian soil. 2 wins at Misano in Clio Cup Series for David Pouget. He comes across the line to win, with the margin over Luca Franca being 1.6 seconds. Closer than yesterday, but still no disputing that David Pouget is the man, certainly this weekend, in Clio Cup Series. Well done to David Pouget then, a very impressive drive. And he scores race honours, so that is a 4th Clio Cup Series win of the season. Checkered flag waves to the rest of the pack. Franca for 2nd, Trebbi for 3rd, Ricciarini for 4th, Ximenez 5th, and Spinkovic in 6th. From Matteo Lacciolotti, then Alessandro Brigatti, Leonardo Arduini, and Francesco Pagano in 10th place. So very good drive by David Pouget, and he then will make his way around in due course to the podium. And a tough weekend for the team within the GT4 European Series, so that double for Patron makes it all worthwhile. Got a long journey for the French team. We've got a car there grinding to a halt that looks as though it is the car of Capella that's not going to get to the end, seemingly. So Mario Federico Capella, yes, parks, and there's another one stranded, which might well be Danova's car. So we've got a couple of them in trouble at the very end of the race. There is Danova getting going again. So whether that was another incident on the last lap, replays might tell, but for David Pouget, it is another race win as soon as he can get some air into the car. And yesterday they were saying how hot it was, bearing in mind that these are predominantly AM drivers, but they've coped with the conditions well, and now will venture towards the Parc Ferme area, then to the winners' interview area, and then to the podium. So some good fighting all the way down through the field in Clio Cup Series, which is what we get used to seeing. And these are the results. David Pouget, the winner, from Luca Franca and Giacomo Trebi, third. Christian Ricciarini, fourth, ahead of Jacopo Cimenez, and then Jerzy Spinkovic in sixth place. Mattia Lancelotti, seventh, from Alessandro Brigatti. Leonardo Arduini, ninth, and Alex Lancelotti in 10th. Francesco Pagano, 11th, with a time penalty applied. In 12th place was Alessandro Alcidi from Francesco Savoia and Ludovico Longoni. Gian Alberto Coldani was 15th, ahead of Alessandro Cerchietti. Due dropped to 17th, ahead of Sandro Cutini. Manuel Stefani was 19th, and Daniele Pasquali next, ahead of Rolando Bonaccini and Ercole Cipolla. So we did lose Capella and Danova on that last lap, and David Pouget is the man of the weekend. 2 wins in the ultra-competitive Clio Cup Series. That is no mean feat. Bravo to David Pouget. And he will make his way to the end of the pit lane and then have a word, no doubt, with Gemma Scott, who is down there. But top stuff by David Pouget. The way the cars park, of course, it's not easy to wriggle out of the car. So that's better. Out he gets. Madame Pouget ready to offer water, and congratulations. And don't drink it, just have a shower. It'd probably be relatively warm. And the championship administration trying to keep all the drivers as cool as possible. Luca Franca's team ready to receive a second place driver. So David Pouget, after a good drive, has another shower and starts to recover after a very hot 25 minutes in the car. And that'll evaporate very, very quickly. It has been an absolute scorching weekend, and temperature 32.6 degrees right now. Track temperature has dipped slightly, 41. But that's not much of a dip, I promise you, from where it was earlier. So David Pouget reflects on a win, second of the weekend, and one of the most committed drivers to Clio Cup racing. Certainly deserves championship success. It's been overdue. Race wins have come, but he tends to have, yes, lots of customers with him, but traditionally the Milan Competition customers are always ahead of his. So he's a bit of a lone wolf hunting against the Milan fleet. But here, doesn't have to worry about anything other than the local Italian racers, good as they are, but they're perhaps not in the same level as David Pouget. He's proved here just how competitive he is, and rather dominant in this second Italian visit of the season. So hopefully we'll get the winners up to the podium fairly shortly. Barely a cloud in the sky over Misano, mainland Europe. Incredibly hot this last few days, and more of it to come. And so the teams, certainly in the case of David Pouget, and Jerzy Spinkovic, the Polish driver, done a lot of mileage to get here, and Spinkovic's finishing in 6th place. David Pouget, 2 out of 2, as he's already taken wins at Manicourt. So when he wins, he does doubles, doesn't he? 2 victories at Manicourt, home soil, 2 here. And I think the drivers have made their way up to the podium. Soundtrack to that podium is going to be Porsches, which will be allowed out next, ready for their time trial, which is part of the weekend here. This was early in the race where David Pouget had Luca Franca and Giacomo Trevi glued to his tail. And David Pouget eventually just able to edge away little by little by little, build that gap, and coming through for a race win. This super slow-mo at the last corner showing the effort that the drivers put in. And although these are purpose-built race cars, built as a racer, not a road car made into a racer, there's still nothing like the aero, of course, to glue them to the ground like GT cars have. So the driver's input, absolutely huge. Over the curb rattles Pouget, runs it out wide, chased by Franca, chased by Trevi, and Ricciarini in 4th place. So the race winner, David Pouget, makes his way up the stairs to the podium. You see how different lines fire people wider coming out of that last corner. You tend to judge your pace against the car ahead. So if it goes wide, you go wide, and that was the best of the lot from Pagano, who just went wider and wider and wider and wider, found the gravel, found the grass, got airborne, and eventually pogoed his way back towards the circuit. So noises off would suggest that drivers are ready. So the podium, the overall podium for Clio Cup Series here at Misano is ready to get underway. The drivers are there. They'll get themselves dressed again with the overalls on. And to the podium they will be called. So for 3rd place, Giacomo Trevi steps forward. The driver from the MC Mototecnica team. Then for 2nd place, Luca Franca steps to the podium in the MC Mototecnica entry as well. But it is the French driver David Pouget who goes for the top step of the podium. Another great drive by David Pouget here at Misano this weekend. The team represented by Patron on the top step, but also by one of the engineers, as David Pouget takes race win number 2. So great stuff from David Pouget. That helps in terms of points. It also helps for Luca Franca with Italian points. Trophies being presented then to Giacomo Trevi, first of all for that 3rd place. Then Luca Franca gets a good reception for his 2nd spot. Trophy handed to him. And then David Pouget, the race winner, receives his trophy. And the winning team represented on the podium as well. So great stuff from Clio Cup Series here at Misano. And David Pouget's 4th victory of the season is yet another Renault trophy. But it's championships that he's after as much as race wins this year. After years of being a bridesmaid, he wants to be the champion this time. So they flee from the podium. And congratulations to David Pouget, race winner in both here this weekend at Misano. Plenty more to come from Clio Cup Series during the course of the season. But from Misano, from David Addison, it's goodbye.